Welcome to episode 14 of today's Candor. I'm your host, Barika. Thank you so much, as always, for taking the time to tune in. In this episode, I'm discussing complacency, specifically complacency within intimate relationships. So let's go ahead and dive on in. As you know, complacency can occur in any aspect of our lives. But today I wanted to focus in on complacency in our intimate relationships and just kind of break it down and just give some insight, of course. So, of course, just being on social media, listening to other people talk, reading, whatever, you see a lot of different perspectives, opinions, what have you. And I know some people refer to the younger generations as being the ones that are maybe, more selfish with their time. They are more into just what is for them. But in this case, the complacency within the intimate relationships, I find that is not just now the younger generations doing that, or the selfishness, if you will. So I'll say that this episode will be like a combination of both, if you will. So the complacency piece and also the selfishness in relationships. And it's just two things that will absolutely kill a bond. So this is something that has always been a pet peeve for me. I cannot stand people who willingly commit and end up complacent and are selfish in relationships. It is something that I completely despise. It's a pet peeve for me because, for me, I'm thinking, well, no one had a gun to your head. And if you decided to commit or to be in a serious relationship or to get to know this person, and that's what you all have agreed on working towards, then at a certain age, we all know what comes with that. It is just a given. And if you all have agreed on things such as, we want to build together, whatever that may look like for those two people agreeing. We want to establish, something long term. You may be talking about marriage. If you haven't gotten that far, you may have, just be saying, at least we know we want to do this long term. Like, this is something serious. We're committed to each other. Let's do this. I mean, nobody should have to sit and tell you if two grown adults discuss this type of relationship, working towards this, growing with one another. It's like, what you did to get me, you should keep doing. And it should also be even more. It should be even more of these things that you were doing to start that attraction. It shouldn't stop. It shouldn't dwindle because, you are comfortable with someone now and you know them more. Knowing them more and knowing more of their likes and dislikes, needs, wants, that should only intensify and enhance the bond. And you should want to continue to see this person happy. Of course, there will never be 110% happiness every single day of a relationship. That's impossible when you're bringing two people together, trying to grow together. However, when something comes up, whether it's a disagreement, whether it's a conversation that needs to be had to make sure you all are on the same page, whatever the case may be, it needs to be able to at least the attempt to work on it. I'm not going to say that, of course, it will be, if there's an issue between you two, that there will be, that automatically it will be resolved. There's no way that can always be guaranteed. However, what I find is not only the complacency in today's relationships, but also that selfishness. That people they know what needs to be fixed. They know what needs to be worked on. They know what needs to maybe be, there needs to be some type of compromise. They'll know these things for sure. Whether it's because they just know from being observant, or whether they know because there has been a conversation between, two people in the relationship. Either way, when you know and you are making a conscious decision to not work on the issue at hand, that's when it becomes a problem for me. So for me, I'm very aware that there are going to be issues, disagreements, won't see eye to eye on everything. Those things will just come up in relationships. There's no avoiding it. But when a person will not even attempt, when a person will not even try, when a person doesn't even want to have a conversation, the selfishness in a relationship, the me, the I, what I don't want to do, that's not going to work for me. Okay, great. And while that's not going to work for you, what's going to work for us, though? Because what people fail to realize is that relationship turns into the we and the us. You become a unit, or at least you should want to. So when I find people talking in such a manner, but claim that they're in these committed and serious relationships and they've gone exclusive and, oh, we're official and we're this and we're that. Are you that for the look of it? Are you that to tell your friends? Are you that to tell your family? Or are you really that? Because when you become so selfish and you choose to not even attempt to try to either resolve issues or just work on whatever is at hand, even if it's not something like necessarily an issue, but you all are just, you might just be saying, let's tighten up our relationship. Let's polish it some and massage the relationship, if you will. Right? So when you have one person in the relationship, or sometimes both, who don't want to come to a common ground, it's just me, and the I. That's an old broken record, and it's not going to last. The relationship won't last. If you can't communicate and can't compromise in your relationship, it's going to be a failure. Whether you all choose to stay together or not, the choosing to stay together but still won't compromise and communicate, it's still a failure. You're just still there, unhappy and miserable. But if you all have tried to, if there's been an attempt to say, okay, you know what, like one person saying, I know that I've either been selfish, I've been complacent, I know I've not been compromising. So let's sit down and actually talk about this. If two people in a relationship actually choose to sit down and be mature adults and there's still no resolving it, that's totally different. But when there is not enough maturity, and you can't put your pride to the side and your ego to the side and have a conversation and really try to work on it, because you're like, you know what, this is my person and I love them. And it's not about me, it's about we. If your man or your lady comes to you and says, hey, let's discuss XYZ, and it's like you all discuss it, but are you really hearing what this person is saying? If someone approaches you, if one of you in the relationship approach the other, there's something they need to speak about with you. Are you really hearing them? Or is it just going in one ear and out the other? Because it's like, okay, well, that's not what I want. So I don't know why this person's coming to me, talking to me about it. And when you start to give certain responses, when you start to carry the relationship a certain way, and almost as if you are not aware of the detriment that might do to your relationship, it's like, well, at this point, do I need to ask you, do you even care? Or do you not view it that way? Do we need to be having a conversation possibly about something else? So I'm taken aback, I have to say, by just people with all of this. They claim who they're loving and they would do this and that for, and they would give their last dime and, oh, you're so good to me. You're so awesome. You're so amazing. But when you say this to a person, do you really mean that? If you can't communicate and compromise, do you really mean that? Because a conversation, not an argument, a conversation should not throw you completely off. If you all are really rocking with each other the way you say that you are, you should be able to sit down as two adults and say, hey, let's talk about, and then whatever it is that you all need to discuss. And on Instagram, I saw a post. I can't remember if it was a quote, but It says something along the lines of this generation would rather, I can't remember it verbatim, but it was along the lines of saying that, this generation this generation is weird. They would rather run away from the relationship instead of trying to fix it. And it's so true. And like I said, while I understand the younger generations literally have just no concept of what a relationship entails, some do, but generally speaking, the younger generations are just completely lost when it comes to being there for your person, fixing it, allowing someone to be human. Allowing someone to be human in the sense of giving them the room to grow, giving them room to make mistakes, not mistakes as far as disrespecting you and having no regard for you, because people get it twisted. A mistake is a mistake. Yes, if it keeps happening, it's not a mistake. Someone is consciously making a decision to do something that they know you dislike. But we're talking about a mistake, and you might just be in your getting to know phase of that relationship. But even still, even if you're years in with your person and someone makes a mistake, know that and allow them to apologize and give them that room without holding it over their head or holding it against them. It's unnecessary, and it causes strife and tension and friction within the relationship that doesn't even belong there. It's unnecessary. So when I saw that post too, I was like, God knows, I've definitely been thinking about just how quick just people nowadays are to throw something good away. Have you even tried? Have you even attempted? I'm like, my goodness. Are you even going to hear the person out? Are you going to try to compromise with them? Is it going to hurt you to try to not only satisfy, but to make your person happy? People nowadays want you to be able to accept the bare minimum. I'm like, baby cakes, the bare minimum are the what's given in a relationship. That bare minimum stuff, it's like, okay, you want me to give you some kudos because of what? And it's crazy when I see these couples acting that way towards each other. There's a difference between, like, I'm always going to be appreciative of the small things that my man does for me. I'm not ever going to take that for granted. When he's paying attention and knows what I like and things of that nature. But it's like, sometimes when I hear these women talk about, oh, well, he respects me and he does this and he, the stuff that you're supposed to do in a relationship, you're supposed to be supportive. You're supposed to be loving, caring, giving, kind, respectful. You don't get a clap for that. You're supposed to do that. Am I going to be appreciative of it? But I'm not going to act like all I'm supposed to get is the bare minimum. And people don't understand there's a thin line between, yes, absolutely show your appreciation to your person. I'm all for that, for being just grateful, those little things. But when you're talking about, so yes, let me go back a little bit. Absolutely. Am I still going to be appreciative and be thankful for the things that are supposed to be done in a relationship? Absolutely. I'm not going to overlook it or think that I'm too good to say thank you. But when you have these women these days who want to point out, oh, well, and I guess, men do it too, of course. But I just hear women doing it a lot. When I hear women talking about, oh, well, thank you for, pick anything small. Pick anything that you're supposed to give a person in a relationship. I'm like, you do realize that he or she is supposed to do that, right? And you're blowing it up like they just did this grand, wild, crazy thing. Like, come on. Your person, they're supposed to be loving, respectful, loyal, faithful. Like, I don't even know why it's a question. But once again, the society that has been this anything goes society, this expecting little or bare minimum. Like, no, you're more than that. And if somebody doesn't want to understand that, yes, your job in a relationship is to communicate and compromise. But your job is not to put yourself on the back burner. And there's a difference. There's okay, let me see the common ground where we can meet because I love my person. But it's not supposed to be, well, I'm just they're going to be happy. I'm going to make sure I give them everything they need and want, while I'm over here not really feeling it. That's not how this works, folks. So the selfishness game in a relationship doesn't work. It shouldn't work for you. It shouldn't be something that you have to ask. It shouldn't be something that you have to run by your friends, your parents, whoever you're close to, and vent. You cannot be selfish in a relationship. And I'm not talking about selfish as far as you need to make sure that you're still taking care of yourself, still doing the things that you enjoy, hobbies, whatever the case may be. You're spending time with your family, your friends. We're not talking about you being a human being. But you can't be selfish in the sense of, oh, well, this is everything I want in a relationship and what you want doesn't matter. Absolutely not. And if it can't be a conversation, forget trying to categorize it and call it something and red flag this and this. It is what it is. If you can't have a simple conversation with your person, open your eyes and your ears. Stop trying to always blame everything on a bad day. Stop trying to blame everything on generational trauma. Stop blaming everything on everything. Sometimes we need to understand exactly what they're showing you. That's what they want to show you. They're not trying to hide it. Let it be what it is. And as much as it may hurt, figure out if you need to be figuring something else out, or if this is just, it's something that y'all are just working on. But you have to attempt to fix the issue first. If you really care for somebody, you really want to be with them, moral of the story is you have to at least attempt to resolve whatever it is that is bothering you or the both of you all. You don't just get to dip if you really care for somebody and love somebody. That's hurtful. Be willing to fix the issue. And after trying to fix it for so long, so much time, then you might have to see if this is really what is meant for you. But before even attempting to try to fix something or compromise on it, have a conversation, be an adult, a mature adult, before attempting that resolution. And then you might leave the love of your life because you weren't willing to try. And just because they might not be showing that they are the love of your life right then and there, it may just be something that you need to help them with. They may never have had someone who cared as much, wanted to have a conversation. Maybe in their past, everything has been an argument. Everything has had to be a blow up. So we have to understand, give people that room to be a human being, not room to disrespect you and treat you like anything, but give people room to be a human being, grow with you, work with you, resolve things with you. And if you can't wrap your mind around those simple things, you don't need to be in a relationship. It's very simple. It's not rocket science. If you cannot bring yourself to say, I know that I need to, possibly my two favorite C words for a relationship, communicating and compromising. I'm sure I have some others, but without communication, for sure, you're not going anywhere. It's going to be a failure. Because you have to get to the communicating you have to communicate to even get to the compromising. So fix it. Try to fix it. And if it can't be fixed, that's when you figure out what might need to be your decision. But try. Attempt. No one is asking you for a lot. Attempt to fix whatever is going on in your relationship if you really love and care for your person. I'm going to end with that. As always, thank you all so much for taking the time to tune in. Thank you for continuing to follow, like, and share the podcast. Please continue to do so. Share it with everyone that you know. You never know who you might be helping. They might just need to hear a word. And continue to follow me on Instagram at Today's Candor. In the meantime, stay safe and stay candid.